Strength training for jiu-jitsu is simple, but so many people are doing it completely wrong. They're putting in the time in the gym, but they have no idea if what they're doing is actually making them stronger on the mats. So here's 7 steps to building a program for jiu-jitsu. The first thing you need to do is have plyometrics and ballistics as part of your warm-up. If you're a jiu-jitsu practitioner and you're trying to get weight sessions in on top of this, it's so important to be efficient and maximize your return on your time in the gym. And that's where placing plyometrics and ballistics at the start of your session is a really valuable strategy. You're at your freshest at the start of the session. You're able to be explosive in these movements and ensure that you get the most out of them. These are such a key part of training for sports, and this is where I think people that take it seriously really stand out. And don't try to focus on jamming a load of movements in at the start of the session. Focus on 1 to 2 key plyometric movements and 1 quality ballistic throw, and focus on producing really nice, short, sharp efforts with these. Quality over quantity wins out here. And then once you've got these movements out of the way, you can move on to the thing that I see barely any jiu-jitsu athletes doing. And that's your key power movement. Power movements are such a great class of movement to add into your program, and they're absolutely key for improving at sports. They're different to plyometrics and they focus on output over time. So that is producing as much force as possible in a short window of time. Key movements to include here are broad jumps, vertical jumps, and power cleans. There's many others, but these are just some of my favorites. Power movements focus on your body's ability to produce force in a short burst. And in a combat sport like jiu-jitsu, so many exchanges are decided in short, sharp outcomes. Oftentimes, a match can be decided by 1 sweep or 1 takedown. And developing the power needed for decisive movements comes down to having enough strength, i.e. your body's ability to produce force, and enough power, your ability to produce that force over time. So add these into your session before you get to the next part of your program, your key lifts. Now these are the real meat and potatoes of the session. So much so in fact that I think that more than 50% of the gains of the session will come from these movements. Key lifts, split into upper and lower key lifts, are where you're going to be recruiting the most muscle fibers and actually getting stronger. We're talking squats, RDLs, bench press, pull-ups. It's really important that you work hard in this part of the session, as well as selecting movements that will carry over to jiu-jitsu, while ensuring that they're also movements you can progress over time. And once again, if you've absolutely no idea what movements to pick, I've done the thinking for you, and I have a program linked down in the description. So go download that instead of trying to figure this out for yourself. Trust me, I have over a decade of experience and will write a program much better than you could come up with in your wildest dreams. So take the guesswork out of it entirely and go down and download the one in the description. And now that you know what movements to do, focus on working hard and progressing them each week, and you'll really go a long way. Then once you've your key lifts out of the way, it's time to go hit some high quality accessory lifts. If key lifts are all about the neural adaptations and getting stronger, it's good to think of your accessory lifts as hitting all the other musculature in the body. In your accessory lifts, you want to focus on 2 things. Focus on picking movements that will let you train across a wide variety of muscle groups, so you're leaving no stone unturned in your quest for grappling physicality. And focus on getting high quality contractions and pushing yourself on your accessory lifts as well as everything else. People that make real progress in the gym, they focus on working hard from the start of the session all the way to the very end, and not treating their accessory lifts, well, like accessories. Focus on movements that will strengthen areas you need for jiu-jitsu. This is where you can focus on your individual weaknesses, as well as your grip, your neck, your hips, and all the other areas that you would need to be strong. And then once you've worked through, say, 3 or 4 high quality accessory movements, you can then move on to something that you cannot leave out if you want to develop real strength on the mats. And that's going to be core work. Core work that has you actually getting stronger on the mats and not just looking good in the mirror. So you need to train your rotation movements, and you need to train your extension and anti-extension patterns on top of this. Flexing and compressing onto certain movements is a really key part of jiu-jitsu, so you need to ensure that you're covering this in your training as well. I also believe that you should incorporate your lower back as part of your core training. If you try to train jiu-jitsu hard over time and you don't train your lower back, you will regret it. But if you include these type of core movements in your training for long enough, you will start to feel the difference and you will start to build strength that really carries over onto the mats. And now that you have your framework, your key structure for the program, what are the 2 things that you need to do to ensure that you keep making progress over time? So the first thing is to track your lifts and keep a log of your training. Far too many people just kind of float their way through their gym training and they never make progress over time. And the biggest reason I see for this is because they're not logging their training and actually trying to make progress week on week, month on month. The truth is, if you don't do this, you're just going to go in and train how you feel on the day, which is not what you want to do if you're serious about making that progress. Instead of doing this, track your lifts and try to make progress over time. You don't need to go heavier on every single lift every week. That would be impossible, but you do need to progress on what you're doing. So make sure you have a log of your training and you're constantly trying to improve on this. The next point is closely related to the last, but honestly, it deserves its own mention. Make sure you stick at this for a long period of time. So many people start with good intentions and then they just fizzle out long before they've seen the result that they're looking for. Strength training takes time. And a lot of people that you know that are strong or have built good physiques have done so over years, not weeks. So don't just get bored and give up or switch your program around 3 or 4 weeks into your training. You need to stick at a program for months to see the results that you're looking for. And that's months of fueling yourself properly with the food that you need for all this training, as well as logging your lifts, trying to beat that and being consistent with this over time. You can honestly achieve really meaningful results that will have you feeling so much better in jiu-jitsu, but you have to give the process the time that it's due. So don't just tap out of the process just because you're frustrated with the lack of progress. Just like jiu-jitsu, you need to keep coming back and keep putting the reps in so that you continue to improve. There's your 7-step process to building out a program that will leave you feeling so much stronger and more athletic in training. Don't forget to head to the link in the description to download the program that covers everything that we've talked about in this video. Like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel so you can continue learning on your strength and conditioning journey for jiu-jitsu. Thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next one.